This is how they've all started, by the way, Ted Murphy. And you can tell I've changed because I've called you Ted Murphy now, and now we're very professional. Ted Murphy is now one of many people who has a secret inside story about what happened before we hit the record button. And you are the CEO, founder, and many other things of IZEA. A million years ago, it was called Paper Post. And that's when I met you. Well, it was a Paper Post product in IZEA, I guess, but it rebranded Bigly in my time. Bigly, like our current president wants to say. I cannot fathom the journey it's been. And I also don't really remember when we last caught up, because if you say in Orlando at your IZEA Fest, I will feel so sad for how many years since I've shaken your hand in person. It couldn't have been that long ago.
It's been a while, my friend. It's been a long time. You know, everything happens virtually now. So it's like we're chatting, but we're not in real life.
That's crazy talk. You know, I haven't had a cookie with Ryan. I haven't had a cake with you. There's a lot of sweets, I guess. A lot of sweets. IZEA is a company that since its start way back in the day, you've really kind of satisfied one very particular thing. You're a very creative person. You were a designer by trade before you did all this stuff. You said, I really want to help creative people make money. And in a bunch of different ways, that's kind of how the business has been. I want, so Scott Woodard, I was going to say, I hope Scott's here. Scott always says, I can't stand to see people at the top of the mountain. I've got to know where they are by the way, 3 people now from Nevada, but you have to count 2 of them as my mom and my dad. Scott wants to know kind of how it started. Like what was early Ted besides your cute little boy, flippy part of your hair? What was early Ted Murphy?
Very, very early Ted Murphy. How far you want to go back?
Well, let's know, because that, I don't want to start with like, Steve Martin and the Jerk. I was born a poor black child, but I definitely want to know, like, once you launched the advent of this career, what was that like?
Well, let's back up just a little bit before.
Start anywhere you want. This is a choose your own adventure show.
So I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My dad owned everything from radio stations to furniture stores. He actually took 2 companies public in the 80s. And from day one, I always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Some kids, they grow up wanting to be a fireman or a teacher or astronaut. And like, I just looked up at my dad and I was like, that's what I want to do. And through my childhood, we had really good times and really bad times. There's a post on my LinkedIn that's called Burn the Furniture. And when IZEA actually was going public, my dad told me this story for the first time, that right before he got listed on the stock exchange, he actually was burning the furniture in our house to keep us warm. And I didn't really remember that. I had no idea. And so it's always been the entrepreneur journey. So in high school, I started my first company. I started a t-shirt company, and I would go around selling t-shirts to my classmates. That almost got me expelled because some of the
teachers didn't go for the t-shirts.
The teachers did not like it. They didn't like that I was making money. They didn't like that the t-shirts were a little bit risque and maybe not appropriate for high school. But I did pretty well with that, and I wound up actually like expanding to high schools around my city.
So I'm just thinking, just you could have kept them lame, like, get out and grill. This episode of the show sponsored by Johnsonville Brats. Johnsonville, when you want a better cheddar, when you think you want to just have a sausage, but you say, I'd like cheese to shoot down my throat in unexpected moments. Johnsonville.
Hot lava cheese.
Hot lava cheese. It's going to burn parts of you didn't know you had in your mouth. So, sorry. So then you started expanding to other schools, you said?
Started expanding to other schools, and that was fun when I was in high school. And then I got to college, and I had like no money. My parents were in really difficult financial times by the time I got to my freshman year in college. We had got hit by Hurricane Andrew. We lost our house, and suddenly I found myself with no money and really no way to pay rent, no way to pay for tuition. and I started a company, a graphic design company, with a fraternity brother of mine, and we started it in our dorm, and he would work during the day and I would work during the night because we could only afford one computer and one printer, and eventually wound up, growing that company. Did that for 6 years, and we wound up picking up all sorts of national clients. We got in television, we were doing billboards, but I always was looking at the internet, and I was like, gosh, and these are the very early days of the internet, right? And I was like,
wow,
oh, man, this internet thing is going to be awesome.
Right.
And so started designing some very early websites, found that was my passion, and kind of split ways with that partner and that company, and decided I was going to go and focus on high-end web development and online experiences.
Let's pause here for a second, because this sounds like a grown-up, and I want to get a couple of points out of this. One of the things, so I went to this really awesome panel last night on how to be a better interviewer, and I'm going to try some of it out on you. I don't think it's going to work. I don't think I'm meant for this sort of a job, but we'll see how it goes. First off, so you said you were kind of raised not especially well off, but didn't know it. Like, you had ups and downs like any entrepreneur family did. You didn't quite know it. But boy, you sure know it in college, especially where a house blows off the stocks, and everything bad happens, and you really get to feel that.
Yep.
There are kind of two people's, journey with money stories in my mind. It's not like Kiyosaki says it all to me. Kiyosaki. It's basically, you had money, and so you have really no concept. And so it's really the escape velocity to run your own business is so hard. You're so willing to be a frog boiling 1 degree at a time.
Yep.
Or you're Ted Murphy and you feel poverty and you said, F that, I'm never going to do that again. I am driven. Is that part of the origin story of Ted Murphy, number one?
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't really any choice at that point. I was living with a roommate in our fraternity house, and I lived underneath his loft. So my bed area was 6 feet by 6 feet by 3 feet tall. So
that's intense.
So I lived in a hole, and I just had to figure out how I was going to pay for everything. And going into that, I'd always assumed that college was going to be taken care of, and I didn't have to worry about the bills, and things were all right before that, and then all of a sudden they were not all right, and I had to scramble.
You had to dive into it.
And that first year when we started that business, I still have the pay stubs. I made $6,000, and a lot of what we did was actually working in trade for food.
Right, a lot of food barter and that sort of thing. Yep. Well, so here's what I want to do. I want to shake around. Shake a lot. I want to shake around. By the way, Gladys just said, let's start at the future or the present, not the past. So this is the guy that skips to the end of the porn. But we're going to start where we want to start, Ted Murphy. So one of the things I want to say is when I first met you, well, the first time I met you, you ruined my professional career for a few weeks. But I'll skip that story for now.
It was so much fun.
It was so fun. We did the greatest thing. And I actually talked about that last night or yesterday on screen. But the story that I want to talk about is that when I first figured out you were also the designer at IZEA, the head designer, and that all the crazy colors, all the garish purple you could possibly put on something, and all the orange you could put on something. You really only have 2 crayons. You have purple and orange, and then everything else was kind of like a concession to grownups. You're publicly traded and stuff like that, but you are such a designer. Do you still touch most of the design of the site and everything that's your product? I
have an amazing team that works in our marketing department. They are by far better designers than I am, but I am still very much so involved in the product. I have feedback on individual pixels and placement of fonts, and it's my passion, right? I love product. The 2 products that we just launched this year, Brand Graph, which you kind of see some of the visualizations behind me. I designed all that stuff, and was very hands-on in creation of both Brand Graph and Shake. But the team that I have they're just so much better than I am.
I mean, that's what the hope is that you hire for this.
Oh yeah.
So Ted Murphy back in 2006 or 7, I think it's 6, says to me, "Hey, I've got this cool project with Kmart. You want to be part?" And I say, "Yeah." Because anything Ted wanted me to do, I'd be like, "Let's do it," because it was always fun. I mean, that's a good thing to know from the old days, right? Is that you would ask me something 100% of the time, it would be always fun. So you say, Kmart wants to give you like a $500 gift card, and all you got to do is go spend it in the store, and you don't have to say nice things if you don't want. You just spend it and kind of chronicle the experience. I said, well, I could do that. So I say to my kids, let's do this. It's around Christmas time. So I say, let's buy like toys for tots or whatever, because then it's $500 at Kmart money, and then I'll throw a little of my cash at it or something. We'll kind of make it like a pretty significant toy grab. And I do it, and I put it up, and I write the post, sponsored post, Kmart something, something, something. First paragraph. This is the, yeah, I'm missing something. First paragraph. This thing is sponsored. Boy, is it sponsored. Say my stuff. Get to the bottom. This is sponsored, but you got to understand, nobody at Kmart was allowed to say anything to me. This is all my thoughts. And, you know, and I said everything anyone would ever say about a Kmart. Looks a little weird in here. Looks a little sparse. Some of the name brands aren't exactly the brands you want. I'm sure Ted was like, God, don't say everything you think. You know, but
filter.
And it wasn't so bad. And I'm thinking that, like, you know, and that's everybody's argument about a sponsored post is you are 100% biased because you got money for it. And they're not wrong. I want to be nice, but I also did not say nice things in my post. And my God, the world went crazy, Ted. So you've been attacked like 80 times. So you get the ad age people, the ad week people, everybody writes about how Chris Brogan's the devil. And Ted Murphy has always been the devil, so no one even questions you at that point.
Yeah, it's like starting from the bottom, nobody has anything to attack.
Wednesday, you know? And Shay points out that you're one of the most resilient people I've ever worked with. No is not in the vocabulary. Going to have my 18-year-old son watch that later. Thank you, Shay. Now, and so years later, everyone and their brother wants a sponsored post. Everyone and their brother is going crazy about this. Now, by the way, this is the most people who have ever come to this show ever. I've never had that many live people. 60 looks like a really low number to you. It's like double or triple. So I think it's the thing you told me off screen that I don't understand enough about. They're shitting on your stock, Ted. They're shitting on your stock. Oops. Here we go. Thanks, Amador. You know why it's low, Amador? Because Robin Hood turds mess with the stock and it causes the problem. That's why. He can't say it. He's the CEO of a publicly traded company. Get out of Robin Hood and go back to other pursuits. Go play, Rainbow Six Siege.
Oh my gosh.
What the hell, Ted?
Let's focus on product and company.
Talk product, because I can't talk stock. I don't even know what stocks are. This is not that show. Look, I'm not. Dude, does it look like Motley Fool around here? Do I have a bell to ring? Listen, you just launched this thing called Shake. Can you please talk to me just a little bit about Shake? Because I think I just got into Amador. I don't care. It's not interesting. I'm not. I think I just got approved by Shake. I heard you're actually hand approving people, which is weird. Talk about that.
Yeah, well, I'm a product guy, right? And so I'm very involved in this initial launch. I want to look and see the people that are signing up. I want to see the shakes that they're creating. I want to be part of that feedback loop with our team to make sure that we're creating the best possible product. But the big idea here is that for a long time, we've been in this influencer space. We've had a platform called IZEA X, which is it's a private marketplace for influencers. So influencers sign up, they create their profile, and then we have companies that license the software on the other side that use the platform to engage these people and create sponsorships with them. But the challenge has been that there's not enough deal flow for everyone, right? The brands that are using the platform, they're great. There's some gigantic companies that anybody would be really happy to work with,
right?
But because of the private nature of the network, it artificially constrains the amount of opportunities that are available for people. So the idea here is that we want to flip it inside out. And we want to allow people to create public listings. We want to allow the creators to drive their own pricing and deals, and give them an opportunity to work with a bunch of other brands that can't otherwise afford to license our software or don't have the volume of ongoing influencer activations to warrant that expense.
Let me ask you this question, because what you said sounded like what you say on, like, Motley Fool. Is this this is like a snack sized version of some of the other services and offerings you give so that people have an opportunity to use this who might not otherwise?
It's built on the same technology, but it's just a whole different way of doing business. The influencer campaigns have gotten really complex.
Have they?
Yes.
I'm not being funny this particular time, because I don't know, because mine always work like this. Could you give me a bag of money and I can't in any way prove to you that I did anything for you? And sometimes they're like, yes. And other times they go with you. So can you, can you help me out?
I mean, the tools that are now available in the platform that we built are, they're designed for large enterprises that are doing these platforms or these campaigns at scale, right? So they're managing anywhere from tens to hundreds of influencers on a given campaign. And because of that, everything has to kind of be put on rails, right? Like, you can't have crazy amounts of variation in a given campaign, because it would just become unwieldy.
Sure.
Shake is really designed to be more one-on-one. So if somebody, like, that's a perfect example. Somebody came to you, they're a fan of your show, they want to sponsor, this live stream, they want to sponsor a podcast,
love that.
They want to hire you to, do a quick corporate Zoom, right? And talk about social media, talk about whatever it may be. Those one-to-one transactions, that's exactly what Shake is for, right? It's not part of a big campaign. It's just like, hey, I love this guy, I would love to hire him, and it's super easy to do.
As a sometimes professional speaker, seeing as the world has changed, and I haven't spoken in a long time, as a sometimes professional speaker, you kind of always have to say really nice things about most of the events you go to, and most of the times we're lying because we have to just sort of say whatever, and you got to be nice, right? IZEA Fest was one of the best events I ever went to. It was so perfectly thought out. I had some incredible moments. And you're going to remember one of these at that ice bar. And we did the karaoke at that ice bar.
Oh, yeah.
And because Orlando has two parts. Orlando has mice stuff for little kids, and it has real stuff for grown-ups. And it was insanity. And I think you're going to remember the exact moment. Oh, my gosh. Joseph Jaffe has joined us in the...
Hey!
Infamous and famous is the most accurate thing I've ever heard of that event. We had a young gentleman who had been kind of by himself most of IZEA Fest. Socially awkward, I guess is a polite way to say it. He just didn't have the crowd with him. And when he started singing Journey, Don't Stop Believin', which now is everybody sings that, but back then it was a little groundbreaking. It was 2010.
Groundbreaking.
Yeah. Groundbreaking karaoke. You heard it. All of the serving employees at this ice bar started behind him like they were the official solid gold dancers. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes.
All I kept thinking is, oh my gosh, please turn around, please turn around, please turn around. The whole rest of your life will be made if you just realize these people dancing and writhing, shall I say, behind you while you sing this. The next day, that guy's table was full. Everyone hung out with him. He had the most beautiful singing voice. That's the stuff that happened at IZEA Fest, not just learning incredible stuff, not just listening to smart people, but that and watching Ted Murphy run and dive straight into a cake. That's the thing. That's the thing. But listen, that's what IZEA was.
I do love cakes.
I know. And it was the biggest cake. He went right into it. That was what IZEA was. How much of that can still be? I mean, look, my chat room is the fullest it's ever been, and it's full of a bunch of stock monkeys. Not interesting. I'm not even vaguely interested in talking about the stock. That's not what you're going to get here. There's nothing that's going to make you buy or sell anything based on our talk today. It's just me. The show's called Catch Up, you big monkeys. It's not going to be interesting for you. Look, there's a catch up graphic. Ted Murphy, talk to me about IZEA culture these days.
I think that a lot of that fun still carries on today. It's definitely a different world here with with COVID, right? And trying to keep up the same type of feel. But I will tell you that our Slack channels are quite lively, as are our meetings on Ring Central. Client, sorry, you need to disclose that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I as I look at it, I'm trying to create a culture and an environment that I want to go to work to, right? You know, I work insane hours. A lot of our team works insane hours, and you know, you're spending more time with, even now, you're spending more time working with your coworkers and in meetings than you are with your family a lot of times. And so if you're not having fun and enjoying it, what's the point? You know, I think that it also kind of ties into what our mission is. You know, it's all about creators and being creative, and for all the wild things that we've done, our creators are way crazier than I am.
Right.
They are out there, right? And I love that. I love being able to help them make money. I love the way that they think. I love the ideas that they bring to the table. And so I think that that's just one of the natural parts of our company, is just these are our customers at the end of the day. You know, our creators are our customers, and that impacts the culture.
You can sell the vending machine, or you can sell the candy bars. IZEA is a vending machine company, and you find the shiniest candy bars that you can. That's the plan.
There you go.
So, you know, this is so enlightening to me, Ted, in a semi-negative way, just sort of watching that chat roll through. You know what I mean? Because everything that is interesting to me about what you do is what you set out to do so many years ago. When you got vilified with me for doing that sponsored post thing, you were just saying, I'm looking to help a guy like Brogan make some cash. I'm looking to help a company like Kmart reach people they were never going to reach before.
Yeah.
You know, and you did it. Like, you did it, and then you did it more, and then you did it more. And as people, you know, our really good friend Jason Calacanis, way back before, you know, took a swipe and then made the same product, you know, poorly. You know, there's so many. I could say it. You know? But, you know, and then here you are. Like, you know, I feel like, you know, when Paul Rudd was on Hot Ones and he looks in Sean Evans' eyes, he's like holding his hands and he goes, look at us. You know, you did so many things. It's so crazy. It's just so crazy. Steve asked a question that I want to know the answer to. Can you talk about the new idea of celeb shout outs and Zoom calls and all sort of things like that? And how's that going to differ from Cameo?
Yeah, so we just announced that yesterday, and that kind of ties into both celebrities as well as professional speakers like yourselves. The big difference between something like Cameo and what we're doing in Shake is that Cameo is exclusively focused on individuals, right? Like, you go in and you're going to buy a shout out from your celebrity, and they're going to make a couple $100 and you get a video to share with your friends. And we'll have that in Shake as well. But, you know, if you look at our background in our core business, it's the marketers, it's the brands, right? So yes, we expect them to list those types of opportunities, but the average person is maybe going to spend a couple $100 on a shout out, right? A brand will spend thousands to tens of thousands of dollars for essentially the same effort from the celebrity. So our goal is, yeah, we want to connect them with fans and bring them those opportunities, but we want to bring them the bigger opportunities, right? We want to bring them the speaking engagements. We want to bring the sponsorships, and those things aren't available in Cameo. It's very much so focused on the individual.
You know, I was thinking about all the different times that you and I have interacted over the years since going to IZEA Fest. And Steve Garfield from stevegarfield.com says it's a TED Talk. I've never heard that. You're so quick to laugh. People think that they're funnier than they are. Come on, Steve. Listen, this is really interesting, though, to me. It is. It's interesting because every time you've ever reached out to me in private message, almost always on Facebook for reasons I don't fully understand, you've always said to me a question. Hey, can I ask you a question? Do you think this is interesting for a creator? And I would just tell you my answer, and you'd say, okay, and you'd wander off. And then a little later, hey, would you think this is interesting? And I'd be like, I can see where maybe. Every now and again, I would try one of your products. I'd be, brought into the early adoption. Go, oh, that's kind of cool, and then leave again. And it's interesting because that's a knock on a lot of people who run companies is they don't get input. I'm watching the video game space, and Mixer shuts its door randomly one day after paying millions to two of their guys.
Oh.
Millions, like 30 million, I think it was for Ninja, Tyler Blevins, and I think 10 for Shroud, so that's 40 right there. Right. And so I feel that, that's an interesting storyline, but you've always been about how to try to get some money to the creator. You've always been trying to, to get some eyes to a product that maybe doesn't always, I bet Johnsonville Brats doesn't get a lot of love except for Chris Brogan. So, what do you do there? Right. So, you haven't faltered in that way, but you certainly had to edit a little bit. What happens?
Look, we've had some products that have been great. We've had some products that have not been so great. But what's interesting to me is how even the early products are present in some way today in the current products, right? So, I mean, if you think about our platform sponsored tweets, we had a lot of early success with that. That was the first platform where we started bringing on celebrities, and we did that Kim Kardashian sponsorship for Armani jeans.
Yeah, that was.
I remember we paid her $10,000, and that was like, what? $10,000?
Exactly, and then
thousands of dollars. And we eventually wound up retiring that platform because it was just focused on a single channel, and what we found was that our marketers wanted to be multi-channel, and it didn't have a lot of the measurement tools and workflow that was required for some of the more sophisticated brands. But a lot of those same concepts that we originally created there, like the idea of the disclosure engine, was born inside of sponsored tweets, and you can still find that in IZEA X today. And so we just continue to kind of iterate, and we lop off the stuff that doesn't work. And a lot, there's a lot of stuff that's on the floor, but that's just kind of part of innovating. And what I'm excited about and why I am so involved in the early stages of this product is like we're taking almost 14 years of experience and we're dumping it into something new that takes a lot of that experience and builds upon it. But there's also a lot of things that we've never done before. One of the interesting things that I've seen here early is that people are signing up, and while the intent of the platform is to deliver everything digitally, we're getting people that are saying like, oh, I want to do something locally.
Right.
And the idea from the get-go for us was always just like everything was going to be delivered digitally. It didn't matter where you lived.
Yeah.
And so on one hand, we're like, I don't know if we want to do that. On the other hand, we're like, there's clearly some interest there. What do we do with that?
Right. I mean, that's if I had to sort of sketch you a little, I'd say Ted Murphy's a guy that iterates a lot and is very willing to make mistakes and drop stuff on the floor all over the place because it's just going to get him faster to where it goes. I mean, that's pretty accurate to you, right? I mean, you have to be a little different now that you're public, but you're a very iterative guy. True. I
am, and it can drive my team crazy at times because
sure.
I am quick to make a decision if something is not working, and sometimes it can feel like, oh man, we put a bunch of effort into this and like now we're gonna kill it.
Right.
But you just can't let those things go on and on and on. Like you have to eventually look at it and be like, it's working or not working. All right, let's put our effort into something else that is going to work.
So for the first time in the show, I feel a bit more like a judge because I'm looking at all these Stock Monkey people quotes, and I'm going to allow Kenneth because he called himself a Stock Monkey. So I already like him more for that. He says, that's really exciting to see the future of Shake in the music industry. And by the way, that goes back to one I didn't pick off, which was, where is he? Dana asked a question about Spotify being a rival. Kenneth wants to know, Ted, how can this platform be used to connect fans to their artists?
Yeah, I mean, I think that gets back to some of the questions that were around Cameo, right? That we are going to have the ability for artists to come on here to create opportunities that are specifically for individuals, so that they can do shout outs for their birthday, or, you know, a little surprise for a friend, whatever it may be. But, you know, a lot of these artists are also, they're hurting right now.
Yeah.
They're not, in the same way that you're not getting booked for events because the events aren't happening, you know, they're not able to go to these live events. And for a lot of artists, that's where the majority of their money comes from now. So we see an opportunity to connect these these artists with brands for sponsorships, as well as opportunities to have them do content for their fans. But the brands are always going to pay more than the individual. So we kind of look at this as the best of both worlds, where they can get, you know, there is something really cool about having a fan, you know, paying you to create content for them, and, you know, they're that excited about it. You make money, you make their day at the same time,
right?
But you know, it's also hard to make a living off, you know, 50, 100, a couple $100 for those. You know, there's only so many of those that you can do in a day.
Right. And you know, people that don't really know the business don't know there's always this triangle, right? There's the content part of the triangle. There's that, I'm trying to get my angle here like a Jay-Z thing. It's content part of the triangle. This is the content, like this is the artist. And then there's the people who want to go see the show, and these are the people who are going to pay, so you don't have to pay so much to go see the show, if not free. And Ted works on these two parts because this part always takes care of itself. The artist has done that, right? I mean, that's how it works. Again, I don't work a whole lot in, you know, people figuring out their stock futures based on my stupid show. I just talk with friends. Ted and I hung out a lot. We've drank liquids together. So I don't know. You tell me if this is not a good question. Have you seen an increase in advertising revenue since the thing with social media bans? Facebook's getting effed right now for the first time ever. And to me, even when I see Unilever and Starbucks and Coke and all those guys say we're pulling July, I keep feeling like Facebook, like Zuck's over there going, you know, I guess I would have cheese on my bagels this month or something. You know, I like, to me, it's not much of his budget. But like, is it? And have you seen a push up because of it?
You know, I think that it's still early days. I mean, we're gonna have to see how that impacts us one way or the other. You know, I can't really talk about like revenue projections or anything like that because we are public. But I think that does go to a belief that I've always had is that there should be diversity in budgets, and we have always looked at the way that we approach social media is that we want to have diversified partners. So you know, we certainly like working with Facebook and doing stuff on Instagram, but, you know, we're also doing stuff on YouTube and Pinterest and Twitch, and so, you know, if an advertiser doesn't like one platform, there's the ability for them to go to another platform. You know, that it also kind of relates to what I was talking about with sponsored tweets, right? And at one point we were like all in the Twitter bucket, and you know, there's not as much interest in Twitter as there used to be, frankly, from an advertiser standpoint. So I think that what you'll see is that those budgets are going to be shifting to other platforms, other types of activations, and spending on content, you know, brand owned content.
Right.
But I'm just always hesitant to be very focused on just on one platform. Just going back to your mixer example, right? It's like, let's forget about the people that got paid, you know, tens of millions of dollars to come over and switch platforms. They're going to be fine. But the streamers that said, oh gosh, there's a new platform here, I'm going to jump over and I'm going to make my home here. And now all of a sudden, all this time that I spent building up an audience, it's gone.
Utterly gone.
And I remember like when Vine shut down, I mean, people were crushed because they had basically built their entire life around Vine, right? And getting sponsorships on Vine and the audience they had on Vine. And then all of a sudden it was, nope, no longer exists.
You can always spot those ones in a crowd too, because they can only talk for 6 seconds at a time. But they repeat themselves a lot. It's really weird. Carrie asked a question, and I think that it's, to me, I always think of Shake always for the whole 2 weeks it's been known. I always think of Shake as kind of like sort of the opposite of Patreon. She asked the question, could you see Shake evolving into something like Patreon? I feel like that's what you said when you said not really, because the fan side of that triangle doesn't pay nearly like what a marketer is going to pay to get Johnsonville Brats, not a sponsor yet, to be part of the show. I have a feeling that your answer is no, but I could be totally wrong.
Look, I think that you're going to have some of the revenue to both IZEA and to the creators who are listening is going to come from individuals, right?
Sure.
So whether that is, hey, I want to have a song produced for my son, or I want this celebrity to give a shout out to me and give me a video, like those will be part of the revenue triangle, as you say. But I think that at the end of the day, the majority of the income is actually going to come from marketers. It's going to come from people who are working at companies, who need content produced, who want access to celebrities and influencers that they might otherwise have a really difficult time brokering a relationship with. This just kind of opens everything up and makes it super easy in a way that it hasn't been done before.
We've talked a lot more grown-up stuff than I normally do in a row, but it's because you laughed during that too, so it makes me just as happy to catch up with you. I know you're a runner. You've got a little man and a wife. What do you do for your pleasure? What's a Ted Murphy downtime zoning out kind of thing? And don't make it like, don't say you like go out and hit 18 holes or something. Ugh.
Do I look like a golfer to you?
A little bit.
Yeah, the gray hair, glasses. Yeah, I
got
it.
You're CEO. I mean, some of them have to hit those things with sticks.
I am not a golfer. Nothing against golfers. It's not my thing. I run. I've been running every day since March 23rd, 2015.
Right.
So I'm a streak runner. I do that to stay sane and to get my extra energy out of my body. My real passion is building things, though. So like when I'm not doing things digitally, I build things physically. So like this office desk that you see behind me is like I built all of this. I wired all the electronics up. I do a lot of woodworking. I have a CNC machine, but I'm just like I'm a creator. I love making things.
You built out a lot of your place, and I've watched a lot of these. And by the way, I have this negative aversion to watching people show off their house. But when I see that you built so much of your house, that's the thing that makes me excited. Is like you're like, if you put in a sconce. It's interesting because you ground that sconce down. You probably like cut the tree in the Everglades and put it up, but it's amazing.
I have in the other room, there's a 600-pound light that is hanging that I made that actually inside of it has an entire like nightclub apparatus where we can do karaoke at the house, but it's hidden during the day, and then I can press a button and it comes up at night.
I told Carol
that was my midlife crisis, actually. Like I didn't go buy a fancy car.
Right.
I didn't go have like an affair or something crazy like that. I built like this giant party light for me and my family to have fun.
You're just a crazy man, and you built when I saw it, like again, it's this really easy feeling to be like, oh, I can't believe he's one of those kind of guys. I always feel joy, because I know that you'll use the heck out of that with or without anybody home. Now, I want to ask Carol a question.
Actually.
You do. I want to ask Carol her question for her, but I also need to know, you probably have a couple go-to songs depending on sort of mood. What's an absolute Ted Murphy guaranteed karaoke staple? And then tell me just a little bit, about the other ones you might go for.
Oh man, I would say I like New York, New York by Frank Sinatra, which is totally old school. And the reason for that is that it reminds me of my my mom. My mom just like she loves that, and when they come down, she'll still do like the kick line and everything. I gotta love that Don't Stop Believing, it's like journey, gotta do it. And then there's been a little bit of Baby Shark. With I know.
When you have a kid at home, what else can you do?
I know. Oh, I'm sorry for everybody listening.
Yeah.
I just got that stuck in your head.
Right to hell. All right, listen. How do you find the time to do everything you do? Says Carol from Montreal. Career, family, running, and that beautiful artwork in your hobby section. How do you do it all? That's what she wants to know.
I don't do it all perfectly. I have a fantastic wife who, without her, my life would completely fall apart. I would probably revert to like eating cold beans out of a can and not showering and just working 24/7. But she keeps me grounded and reminds me that there are things that are equally as important in life to what I'm trying to accomplish on the business side. And I am a workaholic. I get that from my dad, and I don't say that as a thing that I'm necessarily proud of. It's when I've had kind of my most difficult times in my life from a health perspective, it's because I didn't have any sort of balance. We were talking earlier about being stressed, and I've found myself in the hospital in the past because I was having panic attacks because I wasn't balanced. But she is my rock.
There's a very sexist way of behind every man, good successful man, there's a strong woman. This has nothing to do with gender. Tara is a force of nature.
She's here,
and she showed up. She said, "I joined just at the right time." Thank goodness she wasn't here earlier when we were talking smack about her. Sorry, Carrie says that we've been talking about you the whole time. Back when this all started, I think I'm an optimist. I am not an optimist. And I felt like, how in the world is Ted going to pull this off? Because you're crazy. Like, you're a beautiful, wonderful man, and you're clearly attractive, but you are crazy. And all I thought was, Tara's going to be so down with this for about 81 days. And it's really lingered. It's really persevered. It's really grown. And what a tribute to both of you, though, for all of that. And as Scott points out, behind every strong man, there's a wife rolling her eyes.
This is also true. That
is utterly true. Listen, not to make it all about Tara, because I don't have that much time in my show. We could devote a whole one of these if she wants to swing back around. I mean, she's got work she's doing. Josh asked this question: what can your platform do for my tree service on the advertising leave? I advertise on Facebook, but don't have enough followers. And so I don't know. Do you help tree services?
I would say that is not something that we're necessarily focused on today.
It's not a localized kind of business right yet.
It's not a localized business. Most of our advertisers are national advertisers. Either very large advertisers or people that are running online businesses of some sort. So it doesn't really matter where the customers are. I would say that with the launch of Shake, there's been some interesting developments in terms of the way that influencers are positioning themselves, and not just influencers, but like creatives of all types. So people who will say, "I'll take pictures of your house," right? Like for a real estate listing. That's not something that we originally really created the platform for, but we're seeing that type of interest. So we'll kind of see where that goes in the future. But our main focus is on more national brands, at least for now.
Yeah, so one national brand is Johnsonville Brats, funds out. So Johnsonville Brats, not a sponsor in any form or fashion, but man, could they be? I'm sending them this film. Sure. JohnsonvilleBrats.com. Listen, I got the chance to pick on Gladys early. I said something kind of really mean and insulting, and I liked it. I'm going to take that clip out of context over and over again. The question was, where do you see IZEA in 5 years? I don't even know. Are you allowed to say vision kind of answers? Are you?
Yeah, I think, I'm allowed to say vision types of answers. I'm not going to talk about revenues or things like that, but
nothing material, I guess. Is that what they always say?
No, yeah, not no material, non-public information. But look, I love what we're doing now even more than I loved what we were doing 14 years ago. So I'm still very passionate about this business. I'm invigorated by the adoption and the willingness of brands now to work with influencers and to see the disruption that's happening in advertising too. For a long time I've been talking about these things and that this was all going to happen in the future, and in many ways COVID-19 has become a catalyst for this creative destruction to happen, and you're seeing more and more of this hyper fragmentation of media consumption and media creation and creative services and identity, brand identity, and the desire of brands to be more inclusive and diverse in everything that they're doing. And so like all of these things are kind of lining up to help us really realize our vision and our mission more so than ever before. So I'm really excited about what the future is. I don't know, how things are going. I could have never predicted COVID and everything that's kind of happened from COVID, but it's actually been a positive thing for our business. And I wouldn't have said that. In March it looked like the end of the world was coming.
Right.
It was
right.
really
and
scary.
I mean, with all the respect for the fact that so many people have contracted an illness and so many hundreds of thousands of people have died and all that stuff said, you have to understand that. Like at some point we have to stop saying that part of the caveat, because we get it. Like we know it was an awful, terrible thing. But professionally, there are some really strange outcomes. And for people like you, for people like me, there's this experience of saying, man, I've been trying to say this for years, guys. And this is what it took to get it out there in so many ways.
Yeah, it's just accelerated so many things that I think would have happened over, the next 5 years or so. And it's like happened in months, right? I don't think that we're going back. I don't think that we're going back on the other side of this.
Not to the same back anyway. Has to be
it's definitely going to be different no matter what. And I think that it's going to ultimately be a positive for individuals, especially creatives, who are going to be able to have more freedom and opportunity, who are going to be more embraced by marketers. And that's super exciting for me.
Speaking of that very thing, I'm going to pat myself on the back because I took a gamble on Kenneth, and he was a really good questioner, and he asked a good one. He's asked a second good question you might find interesting, Ted Murphy. As a recruiter for the Army National Guard, a national brand, is the platform something that our national advertisers could use to reach specific geographical and age markets? Thank you.
If we're talking about Shake, yes. If we're talking about IZEA X, yes.
So either.
Yeah, but both of them would work, and it would really depend on kind of the size and scale of what you're trying to do. Part of the platform is influencers and activating those people and using their reach. The other part of that is creating content that may just be used by the brand on their own social handles, or we have a national retailer who actually takes influencer content and uses that content on their own internal television network. And so that, there's all sorts of use cases here where brands can utilize these platforms to get creative content that they wouldn't be able to get in a cost-effective manner the other way. Speaking as like an agency guy, that's where I came out of, right? Like I had that first agency that I started, then I started an interactive agency. You're seeing such disruption in that space right now, particularly for the biggest of the big that have been frankly overcharging their customers for years and years and years. And it is now kind of swinging back the other way to the independent agencies and the individual freelancers, where brands are just looking at the way that they're spending money differently.
So, Kenneth, your air support says thanks, by the way. That's my man, Don Stanley, over there, completely dog obsessed of late, with all his graphics. It's basically Don is morphing into a dog. By the way, Kenneth, one of the first people you could sponsor, evidently, would be Rich Johnson, who says, I'm adding a shake for custom-made Mentos and Diet Coke-powered jet packs. It's going to be huge. So, the best part about this, and the best part of TED, is that it's always been money and creativity and money. It is never one. It is always the thing. So Jeff has another grown-up question, and I imagine
it's funny actually. So that Rich, I was chatting with him the other day, and he was asking me about Shake and the types of opportunities that he might create in there, and he was talking about, he's a photographer. If you don't know him, he does this amazing work. And he was asking about, portraits versus product photos. And, he's really passionate about taking portraits. And I said, that's great, but recognize that there's a lot of brands out there that are looking for product photos as well.
Right.
And so it gets back to this idea of, yes, you want to be creative, but you don't want to be a starving artist, right? There's nothing noble about being a starving artist, especially if you have a family. I think that the idea that your passion and your artistry, that fills your heart, but the dollars feed the family.
It needs an engine. Rich, I would say one good compromise, by the way, is, if you photographed handsome people wearing Johnsonville Brats shirts, you could absolutely fund your passion, baby. Get some shaking on. Jeff has to grown up.
The logo that we can flash on there.
I don't know how to make animated graphics yet, baby. Once I get those, you're over. I'm going to do the dots around the words, like, circa Internet 1.0. As the two platforms are the two platforms currently capable of handling the size and scalable impact that larger companies like the National Guard would expect.
Well, Shake hasn't officially launched yet.
Right. So you can't answer that.
So I can't answer that, but recognize that Shake isn't really designed for huge, large-scale activations. It's more designed for like one-on-one transactions. The IZEA platform is specifically designed for enterprises.
Yeah, so, and you've been doing that for quite some time in the IZEA platform.
For some time, our customers are Fortune 500 customers, and the biggest of the big agencies are using that platform to do very scaled campaigns. So yes, absolutely, for that use case, there is a platform that exists for that. What we're trying to answer on the other side is like, okay, but I just need to hire like 5 influencers, right? Or I just need a piece of content, or I just need this product shot. I don't want to spend thousands of dollars on software in order to do that. I don't have somebody full time to run a program. I just kind of need this now.
So, Shake is sort of the popcorn chicken of the whole project. No one who loves chicken goes, can't wait to have a bucket of popcorn chicken. They actually order a real chicken. So, just take a shot. It's totally true, Ted. I'm going on to Jim Cramer later on today.
Okay, I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna
Shake is the popcorn chicken.
Poster of it.
Right? It's a popcorn chicken, baby. All right, I'm kicking everybody out of here. I'm kind of done. Oh, wait, sorry. The answer is yes, but can animators use Shake too? Because, Carol's an animator. She does those, whiteboard drawings and those sorts of things where she makes explainer videos and things. Is that a shakeable Shake thing?
That is like a perfect fit, actually.
Especially B2B.
Photographers, videographers, illustrators, influencers, public figures, public speakers. Those are all natural fits for what Shake is designed for.
Double XL and triple XL pole dancers, you can all do it. Follow Ted Murphy at Ted Murphy on the tweeters. You can also check out IZEA and Shake at shake.izea.com. Swing by IZEA.com as well. Chloe says, thanks. My man Don says, Johnsonville brats are made just east of where I live. Don, I will pay you to sneak over there and, make a great, photo for me to use as a backdrop one day. All right. Ted, thank you so much for catching up. It was such a different experience. My gosh. I know you didn't know what to expect, but this was
I had no idea. No idea.
Fun. And now I get why you asked so many questions. Like, what's going to happen over there? Who's going to be there? Like, ooh, you got all these monkeys here. Steve says later, monkeys. So, stock monkeys be gone. Love everybody else, though. I'll catch you all later. Thank you so much. Everybody knows what time it is. Get out. I'm pushing the button.